1 John 4:18. There is no fear in love, but mature love casts out fear, because fear involves punishment. He that fears has not matured in love. Did you know that the very basis of why God created us human beings was for the purpose of relationship? Consider the entire story of creation. He spent 7 days, 6 days really, creating this beautiful world in which we live. But the ultimate part of his creation, the entire purpose of all that hard work and all that magnificence, was for the purpose of creating Adam and Eve, creating man. For what purpose? For what purpose did God create man? For the purpose of fellowship, of relationship, to have somebody to love and somebody to return that love. It is the very essence of why we were created, the very reason why we're in this world. Is it any surprise then that the first thing Satan attacked and continues to attack in our lives is the very basis of why we were created, the purpose of relationship? Walk into any home, go into any circumstance, and I can guarantee that most problems people have revolve around relationship. So how do you make a relationship work? Well, we go back to the original pattern. The original pattern in Genesis 1:29. Up until this point, he's created everything. He's created the heavens, the earth, the trees, the birds, the bees, the whole long thing. He's created it all. He's created man. And then he says to Adam, "Behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed. I've given you every tree. I've given you all this fruit. And all of it's going to be food. And yeah, the animals, I created it for you." Do you realize that before God created man, he spent all this time setting things up for him? The first day that Adam experienced in his life was a day of rest. And I'm not just talking about any day of rest. A day of rest where every need was provided, every food was provided. His first day was a gift from God. Before God entered into a relationship with Adam, he first did everything he could in his power to give. To give. Look how long he spent creating all this good stuff. Why? For himself? Did God come down in the cool of every day to hang out with the animals? Did he go and sit and hang out and pet the dogs? No. He did that all for you. He did that all for man. And that is what the pattern and the foundation is for any successful relationship. Before God created Adam, did he sit there and ponder, well, I hope he appreciates all this hard work. Well, I hope that he gives back some of what I've given him. No. God gave 100% of himself, of what he could offer, of what he could create, every bit of goodness that he had in him. He did that all first and gave it to man as a gift. He gave him the whole world as a gift. And the first day of relationship that Adam had with God was a relationship of being given every gift God had to give. God is the example of perfect relationship. It is only when the giving begins that the relationship begins. We got it all messed up. We got it all messed up. We think that the relationship is what you get out of it. No, a relationship is what you give into it. And if I can drive this one point home already, you will start on your way to successful marriage relationships, romantic relationship, friendship, family. It all starts in the Garden of Eden with the first day of giving. What a beautiful picture. But it didn't stay that way. Satan wasn't so happy with this cushy little relationship. And he came in. And he started weaving his little web of lies. And what is the first thing that Satan did? Is start to bring doubt between what Eve and the Lord had. The first thing he did was start to bring a division in their relationship. Do you know he's lied to you? Do you know he's not telling you the whole truth? Do you know this God that's so wonderful? You know You need to second guess him because he's actually holding back from you. He came in between their relationship. And when that relationship broke down, so did everything else. Don't you realize that it is the relationships in your life that keep you solid? They are the foundation on which you walk. Your relationship with the Lord, the relationship with your spouse, your relationships with those around you. These are the things that keep you steady. And it is the first thing that Satan continues to attack. And suddenly, from having this intimacy with the Lord, with a fellowship with Him, in such vulnerability, in nakedness, in silliness, in childishness, in vulnerability, just complete vulnerability, we see something very different in Genesis 3:10. When God comes, as He always came each day to spend time with them, and He can't find them. They're hiding. And the Lord's like, what are you hiding for? He said, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself. Fear is the enemy of every relationship you will ever have and ever did have. That is why perfect love casts out all fear in the scripture that I said. Fear came in the way. Did God not come? Did God reject them? No, God didn't reject them. God came like, hey, let's have our fellowship. Let's have our hangout time. But they were afraid. They were hiding from Him. They're the ones that put the walls up. God didn't put the walls up. They put the walls up. God came to the garden as normal. But suddenly they were both afraid and they were insecure. They were insecure. Oh, I was naked. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. Oh, I've got all this insecurity. I've got to hide myself. And these two things, fear and insecurity, suddenly stood in the way, and a wedge came between God and Adam and Eve. And God said to them, well, guys, you blew it. Okay, it's over. No relationship. I guess we just got to get on. No, right there in the Garden of Eden, He said, yes, you blew it. You messed it, but I'm not giving up on you. Because out of you a son is going to come. And you know what? That serpent might bite you, but I'm raising up one through your seed that's going to crush his head. Already in the Garden of Eden, He arranged for Jesus to come and restore that relationship. Jesus continued to woo. He continued to run. God continued to chase after them to get back, to gain back that relationship. Do you see the giving, the running? This is our model for relationships. But let's be honest, we've all had experience in life where things were not so great. Where you had a relationship. Come on, think back. How old were you? 13, 14? First time you got stars in your eyes? I don't know. The first time you were even aware of relationship. And you were vulnerable. You were like Adam and Eve. Silly little girl, silly little boy. So naive, so happy, so innocent, so just ready to give your heart, just ready to do. You have this crushing experience. And what comes into your heart? Fear and insecurity. So you try to develop relationships with others in your life, but what happens? You keep hitting the same wall. You keep hitting the same wall. And you're trying to love, and you're trying to make it work, but you can't develop a relationship through a veil. And that veil is all about fear and insecurity. And you think, well, if I can just love, if I can just push through, if I can just pretend that it's not there. No, you have to face the fear and insecurity. What is it that finally restored our relationship with God? It was Jesus being crucified for sin that we committed. The sin had to be dealt with. The sin had to be crucified. It had to be destroyed. God's love never changed. His love did not change to the whole world, but that relationship could not be restored until the sin was dealt with on that cross. And you're trying to make relationships work. You're trying to push, and you're trying to just do the right things and apply the right principles. But until you remove the veil, until you get rid of the fear and insecurity that's coming in the first place, you're not going to ever experience, you're never going to find your peace ever again. You're always going to be striving. You're always going to be trying. And you'll try to love more. You'll try to do more. But here's the reality. You've got to face your fears. You've got to face your fears. You've got to face your insecurities. You've got to face your weaknesses. Don't think that you can just tuck them away and try and carry on with your life. No, Eve ate that apple. She ate that apple. Adam ate that apple. The deed was done. Something had to be done about it. And it's the same in your relationships. Don't think that you can just tuck it away behind you. And this is especially true of the marriage relationships. Because let us be completely honest with each other here. When you look at the person that you're with, especially if you've been married for a number of years, there's a list this long on how often you've let each other down. There are bad experiences. There's times that you've hurt each other. There's times they've said something to you that hurt or did something to you that hurt. And now you're trying to work at it. You're trying to get it right. And you think, well, we don't need to go back there. We'll just cover that over. Let's just start with a clean slate. Let's just pretend like nothing happened and we'll just press on through. You're going to find yourself going through the same cycle again and again. Because until the fear is confronted, until the sin is confronted and you lay it on the cross, you're not going to get a victory. You see, that's the thing. The power is in your hands. You could have somebody standing in front of you that loves you so much. Did God stop loving Adam and Eve? He loved them so much, he was willing to die for them. It wasn't God that was the problem. He loved them with abundance. It wasn't God that stood in the way. It was their sin. It was their fear that stood in the way. And the same is true of your relationships. Somebody can love you. You just think, well, I haven't found the right person. I haven't found somebody who loves me enough, who does what I want them to do, who's kind to me. No, the other person is not the problem. You're the problem. You don't have successful relationships because of your fear, because of your insecurity. And whether you deal with it now or you deal with it later, it's the same thing. So you may as well deal with it now. Don't think that you can find somebody else, go into another marriage, find another principle, and it's going to just wipe it all away. No, there's only one thing that's going to wipe that wall away, and it is the blood of Christ. It is dealing with your sin. It is dealing with your fear. It's confronting the deepest, most painful insecurities that are inside of you because they're holding you back. They're like a ball and chain on your foot. So what's the solution? Number one is facing your fears. You've got to face your fears. And you do that by vocalizing them. You need to actually open your mouth and vocalize it, especially in a relationship. Now, I'm not saying giving an excuse for your fears. I'm saying just coming to terms with the fact that you have with them. Now that you've come to terms with the fact that you have these fears, let me give it to you straight. That which is not of faith is sin. Now that you've faced it, you vocalized it, are you ready to just admit that your fears and your insecurities are just based on your own sin, your own bad responses to things that have happened to you? And when you can get a grip on that, you'll get victory. You know, Eve could have said, well, it wasn't my fault. You know, that serpent. Ooh, he could say a thing. I tell you, he could say a thing or two. You know, the way he spoke, he manipulated me. He came with these sweet words and he said what I wanted to hear, and he manipulated me into sinning. Yeah, but she was still the one that ate the fruit. She was still the one that sinned. Yeah, maybe Satan said what she wanted to hear, but she still committed the sin. And until she could deal with that, there is no relationship. Yeah, things happen to us in life, hard things, difficult things. And it's not fair. I'm not saying it's fair, but I'm saying you're responsible for how you responded to those things. When you responded in fear and anger and bitterness and all that stuff, that's where you gave the enemy a license, and it puts a hard shell on your heart. And not only is the relationship you're in not going to work, you will never, ever develop solid relationships, because nobody can have a relationship with a wall. Nobody can have a relationship with a mask. And I don't know if you've noticed, but nobody is walking around these days trying to hammer down your walls to get to know you. You're looking for that special someone that will look through your walls and reach you. They're not around. And if they are, it's for their own purpose. You are responsible for your sin. You are responsible for your walls. And the wonderful thing is, when you're prepared to face them and push them down, victory is so quick. In fact, when you finally do it, you'll kick yourself and say, why did it take so long to deal with these things? But it's like wandering around with a festering wound. It's like getting a splinter in your finger. And instead of just facing the fact that, ow, that hurts. Let me take that out. You go, what splinter? I haven't got no splinter. No, I'm fine. In the meantime, your finger's this big, and it's getting all infected and pussy and gross, and you're, you know, it's all red, and everybody's, oh, what happened? No, nothing. No, I'm fine. No. My finger's fine. And you're in all this pain and all this agony, and you're poisoning your whole body with this infection, when all it would have taken is a little tweezers to just, bloops, there it goes. But then what has to happen? You've got to get in there, you've got to lance it, you've got to pull that junk out, you've got to leave time for healing. The cool thing is, when you do that, the recovery is usually quite quick. It doesn't take long. You just got to remove the thing that's causing the pain. Don't you realize that the reason why you've experienced so much pain, the reason why you have so much hurt is not because of what people did to you, but because of how you responded to what they did to you. That's your splinter. Yeah, you tripped and fell. Yeah, sure. Somebody tripped you and you fell. You got a grazed knee. But you're not prepared to let the Lord come in and heal you. You're not prepared to let him come and remove that gravel and disinfect it. And then you wander around wondering why you've got a limp, why you can't walk, why it's so sore. And nobody's good enough for you, you know. Now, nothing anybody does just seems to be the one, the right thing, they're not where you want them. They're not meeting your need. They'll never meet your need. Your fear and insecurity is so great. They cannot meet your need. You're not experiencing the joy of relationships because of other people. You're not experiencing the joy of relationships because of you. Take out the splinter, and you'll suddenly experience a whole new life. Take the gravel out of your knee, and you'll start realizing that you can walk and dance and jump. You see, relationships are up to us. What do you want out of life? What are you going to do? Relationships come after you make that choice to tear down that veil and come into that intimacy with somebody else. So what have you got to give? We looked at giving. And I'm going to get on after this with some really straight points on how you men can give a little to us ladies, thank you very much, and how us ladies can give a little to our men, and how we can give a little to our family and friends, and how we can develop relationships that are the foundation of our lives, that give joy, that bring peace, that develop the fruit of the Spirit in us, because relationships are what life is all about. Relationships are what make life delicious. And you can develop them. Just let's get rid of the junk. Let's get rid of the splinter. Let's move on. So I made my point. What have you got to give? Firstly, your attention. Okay. For those that are married, you can apply this to the marriage. Couples, apply it to the other one. Friends, family. Think of somebody that you can apply these points to. Your attention. How much effort does it take time to notice someone? I mean, just notice them. They walk into the room, they walk into the office, they walk into wherever you're at. Do you really notice them? Do you notice what they're wearing? Do you notice how they smell? Hopefully it's pleasant. Do you notice what the expression is on their face? You know how much of a ministry it is to just notice someone. But you know, we get so busy. We get so busy in our lives. There's work to be done. There's kids to be taken care of. There's chores. And you're so busy running around with all your own needs, your own cares, your own burdens. You don't stop long enough to think, oh, so-and-so looked really down today. My wife wasn't her usual perky self. Oh, I wonder what's up with her. My husband had that look on his face. Why does he have that look on his face again? I wonder what happened at work. You just don't take time to notice. Now, couples, you know this case scenario. You're rushing through your week. He's doing his thing, you doing your thing, or she's doing her thing, you're doing your thing. And you run, and you hear there, and then finally, you get an opportunity to spend 5 minutes alone. You go away for a weekend, you have the weekend together, and you're looking forward to it. Finally, we get some R&R, you and me, and what's the first thing you do for the first couple of hours? Well, if you're anything like my husband and I, we fight. We fight. You know why? Because we didn't notice the rest of the week, so busy running around, we didn't notice those little stresses that were coming up all the time. So when you finally get a chance to sit down and talk, all of that baggage comes up and boom. Okay, once you got it over, then it's good. Then you can have the good weekend. Hopefully you know how to handle conflicts. But you know, if you just took time to give attention and to notice what they don't say. We call it the halo data. just recognize when somebody's going through something. I do this as a spiritual parent all the time. I walk into the room and I scan the room. Now I'm looking at everybody's faces. I'm sensing what's in their spirits. I'm seeing how they're doing. And I say, how you doing? And they say, fine. I say, no, you're not. What's up? They think I'm such a prophet. No, I just noticed. I know my kids. I know my husband. I know my family. I know them. And if I just take time to just look, I can see something's not right. How much time does that take? But you're so consumed with yourself. You're saying, why won't anybody notice me? Well, how much time are you spending noticing them? And what about your time and effort? Let me just say this loud and clear. Love is not free. It costs you. You want to know what the price of love is? Go take a good look at Calvary. You go take a good look at Calvary. You're waiting to feel love. You're waiting to experience this love. Well, then go look at Calvary, because that is the ultimate experience of love you will ever have, where He shed every last blood of His for you. That is love. That is the image of love. Love is about giving, not taking. Love is about shedding, giving, pouring out, investing, not taking. Love is not free. And you know why God made it that way? Because we value the things that cost us a great price. When you've worked at a relationship and you've gone through ups and downs and you've pressed through no matter what, I tell you what, you value that relationship. It's like gold to you. You're not letting it go for anything. So until you're prepared to invest in love, don't expect good relationships, because a good relationship takes investment. God made it that way. Why do I love my kids so much? Because you know what? I had to wake up 2 hours. I had to go through the birth process. I had to carry them. I had to invest so much. And there's something about investing of yourself, your time, your love, your effort into someone that you just can't help but stay connected with them. How much investment have you done into any one of your relationships? And then you wonder why they're not working. Why when it go, oh well, didn't work, oh shucks. No wonder we have such a high divorce rate in this day and age. Oh well, we're not compatible. Look, when the struggles begin is when true love begins. Because love is not free. It paid Jesus His life. Cost Him everything. And when your love costs you everything, let me tell you, you've got a treasure in that relationship. And when both of you are doing it, you have a double treasure in that relationship. And there's nothing Satan can do that will shake it. But if you have not invested that love and pushed through, you will not value it. And then you wonder why your life is so lacking. No, it's a price, guys. And it's when it's a price, and when you've paid that price, you value it. Apostle Paul was like that of his call. He boasted about his call because he paid a hefty price for that call. What price have you paid for your relationship? When you're willing to pay that price with a heart of true love and giving, trust me, you will get the reward. Don't be afraid to give your heart. Agape love, 100% give. The scripture's full of it. I had another scripture there in John 13:34, and it says, I give you a new commandment, that you love one another as Christ loved you. Now, I'm not even talking about marriage there. We can certainly apply it to marriage. It's just talking about fellow believers. It says, to love one another as I have loved you. Wow. How did Jesus love you? He died for us when we were spitting Him in the face. Now, if Jesus could die for you when you didn't know Him, when you didn't love Him, then how come you cannot love the one that God has brought into your life? How come you cannot love those that God has given you as a gift to you? Is it such a price to love them when Jesus did the same for you? If you walk in that love, the fear is really not an issue anymore. It's about giving. And let's look at some very good ways to give. 1 Corinthians 7:4. Come on. This is a very popular one. The wife does not have sole authority over her own body, but her husband does. And likewise also the husband does not have sole authority over his own body, but his wife does. Sole authority. He doesn't have, in other words, you got nada authority over your body. It belongs to the other person, and vice versa. 100% giving. So, are you ladies ready to be challenged? I've got 3 main points. I had to keep it down. Are you applying this in your marriage? Are you applying this in your relationships? Because they may just be 3 simple points, but I tell you what, they change everything. And this is how God expects us as his bride to react to him. So I don't think it's too much to ask that we in turn do this for our husbands. Because what does the scripture say? That we should submit to our husbands as unto the Lord. If you're looking for the perfect picture of what true marriage should look like, you should be looking at Jesus and his bride. Jesus died for his bride. But in return, he asks that she loves him and submits to his will. And gives her life to him, her heart to him. What does Jesus ask for us? Is it not our lives and our hearts? But as our groom, he's prepared to die for us. And in this we see the perfect picture of marriage. So, let's get really practical. Ladies, first point. And this may seem simplistic, but I promise it means the world to your man. Dress to impress. You know, there's a reason why Jesus speaks about his bride being without spot and wrinkle before he comes to get her. No man wants a half-dead bride at the altar. You see, your body doesn't belong to you. This doesn't belong to you. And there is something about taking your time to dress, not to impress your boss, not to impress the neighbor down the road, but to impress your man. How much time have you taken to dress every day to impress your man, just so that you can turn his head? When you were dating, it's a little easier. We wore that nice shirt we noticed he liked, and those earrings, and that perfume, and we made the little effort. So why now do you stop? Now that God has you, do you just stop serving him? Do you stop loving him? Do you stop worshiping him? Well, what kind of worship or praise can you give your husband if it's not with the sacrifice of praise? You know, the scripture said that they gave sacrifice and offering. They danced before the Lord. So how can we in turn praise, give that place to our husbands? It's by making this body something that he wants. This is our sacrifice of praise. That is the most wonderful and most precious thing I think a woman could ever give a man. That is why the whole love making and that whole process is so intimate and so precious. It means so much to a man. But you know what? You can have sex and not give of yourself. It doesn't mean just because you're letting him have his way that you are giving everything you are. And I'm not just talking about the bedroom here. I'm talking about every part of your day. Do you wear the lipstick he likes, the perfume he likes? Do you put on those high heels, even though we both know they're killing our feet halfway through the day? But dang, every time we walk down the hall, he's looking, so we put on the shoes. And we're putting them on for him. If we were all women in this world, we would all be in flip-flops. And we wouldn't bother with our hair. But you know what? How your hair looks, how you smell, what you dress. Scripture says that the woman is the glory of the man. You know what that means? That means, ladies, you make your man look good. You make your man look great. So when he's walking down the road with you, and you are dressed to impress him, you know what? He's proud. And do you see my wife? Do you see how beautiful she is? Do you see how gorgeous she is? Wow, you have a lovely wife. She's mine, just so you know. God is a jealous God, and your husband would be jealous over you if he had something to be jealous over. You're wanting him to give, you're wanting him to do, you're wanting him to be the man. Well, are you as much woman as you can be? You want him to be masculine and strong. Well, how feminine are you? You want him to be broad, strong shoulders and sweep you off your feet. Well, are you Rapunzel up in the tower? I mean, come on. We don't like these little status quo. This is not very politically correct. There's no greater gift than you can give your man than this. Because your body doesn't belong to you. It belongs to him. You know, when I cook, as much as I can, when I come to present the food, I try to do it in a way that's pleasing. You know, there's nothing worse that maybe the roast tastes good, but if it looks burnt, nobody wants it. You know what I mean. Well, what are you presenting to your man? Burnt roast or a nice gourmet meal? Do you think Esther turned the head of the king by coming in her flip-flops and her flannel PJs? She spent a year preening. What did Naomi say to Ruth when she went to go and get Boaz's attention? She said, perfume yourself, dress well, fix up your hair, girl. You want to get this man's attention? Dress to impress. She gave Ruth instructions. Clean yourself up, dress nice, put on some perfume, and then you go to him, and then you talk to him. The scripture's full of it. You see, Peter said, you got all these women that are braiding their hair and doing all the stuff for attention. Yeah, exactly. I agree with Peter. You're wanting everybody else's attention. But what about the attention of your man? You see, that's the problem. They're so busy trying to get everybody else's attention. But he said, no, you need to be like Sarah. And what did Sarah do? What she dressed, what she did, how she held herself was for the purpose of being the glory of her husband. And let me tell you, she was so beautiful for her husband that kings wanted her. And as a result, God covered her and took care of her. She was beautiful. So that means she took care of herself. Look, what man wants you at 100? She must have taken some good care of herself, that she still looked that good at that age. She looked good for her man. Do you? It's a simple thing, but it means a lot to a guy to know that you're making that effort. The second most important thing is giving your man a vote of confidence. And if you're taking notes, write this down. Kill the nagging. Stop it. Stop it right now. You want to kill your sex life, your marriage, and just the flowers he was thinking of getting you, then carry on nagging him to death. And suddenly he has to work late. And, oh, I've got an excuse. Sorry, I've got to be out. No man likes to be nagged. Stop it. It's ugly. It's horrible. Give him a vote of confidence and positive expectation. You should be expecting him to succeed. Look at your husband right now. What are his accomplishments? What is it about him that you love? What are all his strengths and abilities? You see, you're so busy nagging about the things that he didn't do or the things he is not, that you haven't stopped to look at the things he is. When we come to the Lord, what is it that he loves the most from us? He loves our worship. I mean, he's heard it all before, seriously. I love you, Lord, your holy Lord. But you know, it seems he doesn't ever tire from hearing us know how much we appreciate him. It touches his heart. Do you think it's any less for your man? It touches his heart to just recognize the good in him. Expect the good in him. When you expect the good in somebody all the time, they're going to be conformed to that good. But you hear it all the time, and oh wow, do we hear it all the time. Oh, my husband's such a loser. He's such a failure. He just isn't what I need him to be. I need him to be stronger. I need him to be more romantic. I need him to treat me like this. I need him to do this like this. And I'm like, why are you married? Because you can't seem to find one good thing about him, except maybe the paycheck he brings home. Maybe. And maybe that's not even good enough for you. Well, what is good enough? Why did you get married in the first place? It doesn't take much to give somebody a vote of confidence. Look, you know what it's like. You've been there. If somebody's always telling you you're a loser and how much you're going to fail, well, why let them down? I believe in you. You can do this. You have no idea how much a man needs to hear that. It's a silly, isn't it? Well, of course he knows he can do it. He's strong. He's capable. Yeah, but he needs to hear it. And he needs to hear it from you. He doesn't care what anybody else thinks. You see, that's the problem. If your husband is going and having other friendships, other relationships, I guarantee it's because they have a vote of confidence in him. He's spending all the time at work and pushing through for his boss. Why? Because his boss says, I believe in you. You're doing a good job. And when he comes home, he gets the nagging wife that says, you're late again. Bite your tongue. Give it a try. Give him a vote of confidence. Let him see what his strengths are. Recognize the strengths in him he doesn't see in himself. He's got a reason to come home. How does he feel about himself when he's around you? Then what about adoration and respect? This is very different to giving a vote of confidence. Giving a vote of confidence is, I know you can do this because you are so good at this, that you really have such a skill in this. Adoration and respect is, I have the best husband in the world. Do you know what my husband did for me today? My husband actually he did come home with flowers. It's not a special occasion. He just went and got me flowers today. Now, I mean, wow. Any woman is like, well, I wish my husband did that. Do you brag about him? Do you adore him? Can you give me a list? Oh, and he did this for me, and he did that for me. Have you ever heard kids in the playground? You know, my dad is so strong that he can do this. My dad's stronger than your dad. Their dad is the superhero. Well, when last was your husband your superhero? When last did you see those things in him that were just amazing? Do you know what my husband did for me? Do you know what my husband said to me? Do you know how my husband treated me? No, You know how often I just hear women tearing a shred of their husbands all the time, sometimes while they're standing right in front of you. Oh, and he's useless at, forget about that, he's no good at that. And then they wonder why their husband's looking everywhere else. Who wants to be in a place where you're always feeling like you're a loser? And you know, it's important. The scripture says, Jesus said, if you do not declare me before men, neither will my Father declare you. In other words, if you don't open your mouth and vocally say, I submitted to Christ, this is my Lord and King, he said, neither will I give you that recognition. There's something about opening your mouth and say it. You may think it, but you know, there's something about sitting in a group and somebody says, you know what my husband said to me today? Or you're standing in a group and somebody says, who can do that? You say, oh, my husband can. He is so good at that. You should see what he did with our kitchen last year. Man, he's amazing. I'm going to ask him. He's wonderful. You know that does something to a man because you're the glory, you see. You make him look good. When last did you make your man look good in public? When last did you make him look good around your friends, in the church, at your workplace? When you spoke so well of him, everybody's saying, man, I wish I had a husband like that. And when he walks in, everybody goes, wow, you must be quite the man. Yeah. No man wants to brag about himself. That's what you're there for. You're meant to be bragging for him. So he doesn't have to brag about himself. You're the glory of the man. Apply those 3 simple points. Change your marriage around. Bite your tongue on the nagging and that you didn't do this and you failed at that. You're messed up at that. And start recognizing what he's good at. And for you men, I've got 3 points for you too. Words make the man. Gentlemen, let me lay it to you straight. It's in the words. I don't care if you think she's beautiful. I don't care if you know she's beautiful. I don't care if you know that everybody else thinks she's beautiful. Until you open your mouth and say that she's beautiful, she's not getting it. Yeah, well, you should know I love you. I bought you those pants for your birthday. I don't think so. You open your mouth and you say, you're beautiful. I love you. You're precious. Girls need to hear the words. Your wife's sitting there. You're sitting on the couch and she's staring at you. And she's got this look of expectation in her eye. And you're thinking, what? What do you want? What? She's wanting you to say something. She's wanting you to open your mouth and say something. Preferably something nice, something honest, something true, something real, just something. But you know, men, they express their love through actions. But a woman expresses her love through words. And if you're going to get it through to your wife that you love her, that you care, that she's special, you're going to have to say so. Well, you should know. I'm married to you, aren't I? Don't do it. Just, no, don't do it. Assume nothing. Assume nothing. Words make the man. Don't just think, oh, she's looking nice. Say it. I get dressed all nice in my absolute finery. I stand in front of my husband. I'm going, any minute now. And he walks in and goes, what? I'm going, I just spent 2 hours getting dressed. Oh, you're looking great. Thank you. Doesn't take much. Just, you're looking great. That's all I was waiting for. Now my world is wonderful and I may go on with my day. It does not take a lot. I don't know why it's so complicated for you men. These few words, they don't have to be a paragraph. They don't have to be a book. They have to be just a few syllables. You know, like my son Michael, you know, he started working with syllables, baba, mama, you know, and then we went on to words and sentences. You know, if all you can get out is you, great, yeah, it works. You know, just something. Something. Give us something here. You want your wife to bend over backwards. Start saying something. Another little, just by the by, a woman hints. Underline this point. Silence is not a good thing. When a woman is silent, it's not because, wow, she's so content. We can just sit in one another's presence and say nothing for hours and, oh, that's written. No, she's not happy. She is silent because she's waiting for you to say something. You see, woman hints. She thinks, well, if I ignore him, he'll get it eventually. No, ladies, actually he won't. He won't get it eventually. They don't get it you've got to tell them. They don't get it. They don't read your feminine mind. It's a whole nother programming language. And they are not qualified in this programming language. Stop it with the hinting, women. Just come out and say what you want. That's what a guy wants anyway. But gentlemen, on the other hand, it doesn't take much actually to get her off your back. Say, you look nice. Hey, how was your day? Oh, I see you did something with your hair. You know, it may seem insignificant to you men, but it means the world. It means the world to us. Because when you spend so much time dressing up or trying to make yourself presentable for your man, you'd like to know that he just notices you. It gives you a place of security. And then the second point, a little bit of tenderness. Women need tenderness. And foreplay is an all-day thing. It's not 2 minutes before I'm falling asleep and I can't even get my head off the pillow. That is not foreplay. That is a rush job. We hate rush jobs. It is an all-day thing. Tenderness. Holding hands, cuddles, hugs, soft touches. I'm not even talking about sex here. I'm just talking about tenderness. A woman craves touch. From the time a baby is born from its mother's womb, it craves touch. It is such a natural part of who we are. Now, I know men see touch in a whole different light. You know, us women, we can cuddle up on the couch in his strong arms, or in bed in his strong arms and say, oh, I could just lie cuddling and kissing and doing nothing else all night. Well, that's a woman for you. Men do not think the same way. When we start cuddling and kissing, well, a man's got a whole different picture. We see it very differently. Women need to be romanced, and tender touches, hugs, affection. It doesn't even have to be a big deal. If you are somebody that battles with the I loves yous and you look great, when she looks great, give her a hug, squeeze her on the arm, whatever. Give her an affirmation to know that she's special. Tenderness. Gestures. It means the world to a woman. And if it's not in your temperament, then change. Really? Do you think any woman is born knowing how to put on lipstick and wear high heels? Do you guys even know how much learning we go through to walk in these things? You can learn a little bit of voice and a little bit of tenderness. It's not natural. So don't say, well, it's not natural to me. Do you think I was born with high heels on? No, it's not natural to me either, but you know what? We do it. We do it to impress you guys. So don't tell me it's not natural to be tender. It's not natural to say words of affection. Well, of course it's not natural. I never told you it should be natural. I said to do it. You want to work on your relationship? Do it. How complicated is that? Take the time to notice her needs. When she's down, you know, I'm not the kind of person, and your wives may be different, but if I'm down and going through something, don't start harassing me with lots of questions. You know, sometimes when I'm down and I'm stressed, my husband will just come behind me and he'll just squeeze me on the shoulder, hold my hand, give me a hug. It's all I need. And he's saying, I'm there for you. Hang in there. I don't need a song and dance. I just need to know he notices. There's a reason why we spend so much money on cosmetics. It's one of the hugest industries out there. Why do you think women do it, guys? Have you ever thought about it? They want to be noticed. And your wife is wanting to be noticed by you. How complicated is that? Do you think she's dressing up for herself? No, she's doing it for you. And all you need to do, your part of the play, is to notice, to say so, to give the tender gesture. And then finally, what means a world to a woman is when you take the load. A woman needs to feel secure. The Lord created the heavens and the earth. He made the plan. When Eve messed up, God stepped in and made a plan. And maybe she messed up. Maybe it wasn't the best circumstance, but God made a plan. A woman needs to feel that you've got it together, even if you don't. Tell her you have it under control. Remember about those words, how powerful they are? Communicate. There's bills that are outstanding. There's problems that need to be taken care of. And perhaps they're all in your mind. Oh, I need to fix the door. Then I need to go and handle that. Oh, I mustn't forget that bill. And your wife's sitting there thinking, now, I wonder if he probably forgot. He forgot to take the trash out again. I bet you he's not even thinking about it. And the next thing you know, you open your mouth to say something and you're a big rip-roaring fight. It could have been avoided if you would just say, Lovey, I know that I need to take care of that thing. I'll be doing it next week. Just give me some time. Okay. We just need to know you got it. Don't need to know it's done. Just need to know you've got the load. Is that not what God created the man for? The breadwinner, the one with the broad shoulders. Scripture calls us the weaker vessels. And I don't care how strong a woman is. She wants to be the weaker vessel. But she needs to know that you have it in hand. And the only way she's going to know that you have it is when you open your mouth and say so. And even if you don't have it, to still open your mouth and say so. Because it doesn't mean that because you can't take care of the thing that you don't have the load. It's not working and taking the load are not the same. Taking the load means that you're carrying the care of it, that you're thinking about it, that you're worrying about it so she doesn't have to. Now you may have a responsibility that you can't take care of yourself. And so you say, look, Lovey, I can't take care of this, but I'm working a plan. You know, that's okay. At least I know you got it. You got it under control. You may not have the answers yet, but you've got the load. I can back off. You sick of your wife dominating you? You sick of your wife butting in every 5 minutes you try and say something to finish your sentences? Do you have the load? Before she starts, have you already got it under control to say, okay, I've got it under control. Let me handle it. Half the time, she's butting in because she thinks you don't have it. And that's why she keeps taking over, because she doesn't feel secure. She doesn't feel secure in this relationship. She doesn't feel secure under your leadership. Take the lead. Give her a tower to lean on, and she will lean on it. Be the strong man, and she will become the weak woman. Don't force her to become the weak woman before you become the strong man. It doesn't work that way. I hope I'm challenging you men out there. And then for friendships, I've got some little points, and we'll move on quickly. You want to build good friendships? Find common ground. That's probably the easiest way to develop a friendship with anyone. Find common ground and share that common ground. You know, you're so busy waiting for people to approach you. How often do you take time to get to know them? So, where you from? What you do? How many kids do you have? I don't know. Find a common ground. Once you've found a common ground, you can reach that person. And this applies to ministry as well. And then, going back to my beginning point, paying attention. Listen to what they don't say. What mood are they in? What are they going through? It's all about other orientation, isn't it? Getting into their space, getting involved. You're getting this picture. Developing relationships is about a pouring out of yourself. Getting into their space, giving them what you have, being interested in them, pouring out your love, asking them how they feel, giving them affirmation, giving them security, giving them tenderness. Are you getting this picture yet? If you want a successful relationship, then how much are you prepared to invest into it? If I plant a fruit tree, it depends on how good the soil is. It will tell me how good the apples will become. How much water do I give it? How much fertilizer does it have? Does it have the right soil, the right nourishment? Depending on what the soil is like, it will tell me whether my apples are going to be big apples or these scrawny little apples that I can do nothing with. Depending on how much you invest into a relationship will depend on how much you get out. So tell me, how much have you invested into your marriage and in your relationship today? What did you do today as an investment into your relationship? One thing? Half a thing? Did you even think about it? You want to know why you don't have relationships? Because you're waiting for everybody else to sow into you. But you're like a barren soil. When they come and sow into you, what fertilizer is left for them? Nothing. Whatever you invest, I promise you will get 100-fold return. Isn't it the same in our relationship with the Lord? Do you think it wasted time to journal, to praise, to talk to Him? Do you consider that wasted time? I don't know about you, but when I spend that kind of time with the Lord, I feel like I'm investing into the spiritual realm, into my spiritual life. Because I know that even though I'm praising Him, I know it's a continual flow back and forth. It'll come back. Well, that is the pattern for relationship, people. You want healthy, strong relationships. Then let's see how much you are investing into it. So, I want to conclude with some projects. And for those that are attending, I want to report. Because these are points that you need to learn to live by, and you're going to need a little bit of pressure. So, for this next week, project for you wives and ladies in relationships. Point 1, and you can take this afterwards and make notes and copy these down. What are you wearing? What are you wearing right now listening to this message? Make an effort each day this week to impress your man. For those that are married, take an extra step and do it especially for bedtime. Make a little bit of effort. Realize that this body is solely his. And make sure that you're dressing not just to impress everybody else, but him. Wear what he likes, what he enjoys on you. It'll mean the world to him. Number 2, ladies, what are you seeing? I want you to make a list of all your man's strong points and what you love about him. You can share it with him afterwards if you like. And number 3, what are you saying? In addition to those first 2 points, I want you to make an effort to say something positive to someone every day about your husband or man. Every day, I want you to think of one thing positive to say about him, preferably in front of him, to others. Some of you may have to dig deep. Start digging now. Every day this week, those 3 points. Now, just when your husbands are thinking that sounds pretty cool, here's your points. Number 1, what are you saying? I want you to make an effort to say something nice every single day. Genuine, not just you look nice every day for 7 days. It gets a little stale. Get creative, men. Here's some hints. Write a poem. Slip a note in her lunchbox. Send her an SMS halfway through the day. I'm thinking about you. You're special to me. Doesn't take much. 3-liner. A message on your voicemail. I don't care. Think of something. Every day, something nice. Now, number 2, what are you doing? Make an effort every day to give physical affection. No strings attached just before you start getting any ideas, men. No strings attached physical attention. So not, I want physical attention, let's go to the room. No, that's not the kind of physical attention I'm talking about. I'm talking about we can just cuddle here without sex and I'm okay with that. You know what? You might find your wife initiating lovemaking for a change instead of the other way around. Because she'll feel so secure and comfortable in that, she'll be the one running after you. Now, I don't know any man out there who doesn't want that. So, tender words every day, some kind of physical affection every day. And number 3, what are you handling? Make a list of all the cares and responsibilities that fall in your realm. These questions here. What are your plans? Have you got them under control? And then let your wife know that you're handling it and invite her input. Now that's a challenging one. Make a list of all your cares and responsibilities. What are your plans with those things? Have you got them under control? If you do, let your wife know that you're handling it and invite her input. Take the load, take the care. When you do that, you will literally see the color come back to her face, the load lift off her shoulders when she realizes, I can be weak and vulnerable. See, it cuts both ways. Women, you need to learn to be weak and vulnerable. But men, you need to create an environment so it's easy for us to be weak and vulnerable. We need to work at it together. And what about your friendships? All right. For those that are wanting to develop relationships, wherever you are, this is what you're going to do this week. What is your common ground? I want you to start asking questions and finding common ground with everybody that is close to you. Find out what you have in common with everybody that is in your environment, whether it's in your home, in your workplace, wherever you are. Number 2, what is going on around you? Take a moment every single day to look at everybody around you and to determine what their mood is and how they're doing. Doesn't take a lot of time, just takes noticing. And number 3, what are you doing? I want you to take time daily to do something special for someone. So firstly, you're going to find common ground. You're going to see how everybody's doing and then take time every day, just one person a day. Go out of your way to do something that pours out, shows them the love of Christ. Something that blesses them, that you know will bless them. Not that blesses you, that blesses them. For God so loved the world that he gave his only son. This is the foundation of relationships. It is because he gave his only son that we can have the intimacy that we do right now. That we can have the back and forth and the richness of our spiritual life. It is because God invested his only son into us that he can reap his inheritance. It said that when Jesus stood on the cross, he looked into the future and he saw his inheritance and it pleased him. All that blood that he shed, all that pain that he went through, he didn't count it a cost. You're looking at all these points and you're saying, wow, that's going to cost me. Jesus didn't count it a cost when he looked at the inheritance. When you look at that person that you love through the eyes of Christ, these things are not a price anymore. It's not about what you're getting out of your relationship anymore. It's about how much you're giving into it. And if you can both do that, then you're going to have a flourishing garden. It's time to put down the fears and insecurities. And if there are unresolved issues in your marriage, then it's time that the two of you sat down and forgave one another and let it go by choice, that you allowed those insecurities to come to light. And then once they're done, it's time to invest and to give and to act in your marriage as if it was the perfect marriage that you ever saw. Invest as if he is the most tender, loving man. Speak tender words as if she is the most ravishing, most beautiful woman in the world that meets your every need and desire. When you start building those pictures, you have a solid foundation. And the best part is when you've got God in the middle of it, you have the foundation of the one who created this relationship. As we go to renew the wedding vows, I want to keep that in mind. When we vow our hearts to one another, it's never a vow of what you can give me. It's a vow of what I give of myself to you. When Jesus went on the cross, it was a vow of what he was pouring out to us. And that is what makes a vow so special. And that's what makes it so binding. Let it be the foundation. Let his blood, let his agape love be the foundation of all our relationships. And you know what? Life will be full of life, be full of love and hope and peace and every gift of the Spirit, because that is what God always intended. Amen.